This Water Diana list that just won the Yeti Regionals is so sweet, and we need to talk about the innovative cards here that Destiny Clownfish was running in their deck. In case you're new here, I'm Murgle, a Grand Archive content creator, so if you're looking to stay up to date on our favorite anime TCG with Western game design, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video. Now, looking at this list that, mind you, went 6-0-1, only losing out in round 2 to Alex 1783, who was running a hybrid water deck with Nico and CL. It was a unique allies build where they ended up with a draw. Outside of that, this was it looked like a pretty stress-free tournament for our champion here. And looking at their deck, I think you'll be a little surprised as to some of the cards that they're running here. However, looking at the material deck here, this all looks pretty standard. You have your smoke bombs, you have your nullifying mirror, you have flash grenade. We're seeing these a lot recently. Looking glass as well, so you can run distortion. We're seeing that with the inert sword here. And then as you would expect, we have our 2 water aether wings in the material deck, as well as there are 2 pairs of boots here as well. Where this deck gets really kind of interesting though, is looking at the main deck with, what's interesting, 61 cards. You're seeing a lot of cards here that look pretty standard for a Aetherwing Diana list with things like Calibration, Backstep, Charge the Soul, etc. And then you're seeing what looks like a little bit of spice with things like Mad Hatter being run here, which is, I believe, a little more frequently played in a Wind Diana Aetherwing list, but it's here. It's an extremely powerful card. And Cheshire Cat, of course, since we're running the Looking Glass. The ally package, though, is pretty cool. So we're looking at Frostborn Paladin, as this is a staple that's not going anywhere for water decks. It's too good not to include. And then you're also seeing things like Crystallian Archer, which is a favorite card of mine. I've continued to look for a list to play that includes this card, and I think this card is super sweet. I think it's so freaking cool, so I'm glad to see it get some spotlight here in this list. Where it gets a little more interesting is when we start looking at this, the Troll Toad. 4 cost, comes in hintered with taunt, but it is a 0/6. So if you are a water list that is looking to put up some defense and apply yourself to get some chip shots in with your bows, well, I think this makes a lot of sense. But where this gets really, really cool is whenever you look at the card that they're pairing it with, which is Carp Song Coda. Let me move this over a little bit. So Carp Song Coda is a card that came out in the last set. This is a 2-cost fast speed harmony. And if you're looking at the harmonized part of this card, well, go ahead and ignore that and move down to that second paragraph. Deal an amount of damage to a target unit equal to the highest life stat among water element, animal, and beast ally cards in your graveyard. And if you're looking at Languid Toad, you're probably starting to piece this together as to why this can be so powerful. You have an opportunity here to play a Trotoll early in the game and put up some defense. Inevitably, when it likely dies, you have Carp Song Coda here to take advantage of that card now being in the graveyard. And the reason why I'm explaining this interaction rather than maybe milling it and then you just already have it in the graveyard is that this deck actually in the main board and the material deck isn't really running anything that allows them to put cards from their deck into the graveyard. They're playing Fractal of Rain, but that's actually in the sideboard here. So there's not really any kind of built into the deck ways for them to get cards into the graveyard from their main deck, which I think is actually a really cool restraint. I see a chance here where you would just want to add that synergy innately to the main deck, but I really like that I think, saw an opportunity that Troll Toad being on the board is incredibly valuable with the current meta. With things going on with Fire continuing to have relevancy, you're seeing things like Cheshire Cat, Distortion decks with Looking Glass be quite popular, and then you're also seeing Water allies see a good amount of play as well. I think the stars is kind of aligned that not having these cards milled directly into your graveyard was actually the better route to go. And because of that, not having to run Fractal Rain in your main board, I think opened up opportunities for things like the Archer here to be included in the main deck to apply a little bit more pressure and provide you that other angle of attack. And then also potentially things like Mad Hatter. So I really like the restraint here in putting Fractal of Rain into the sideboard rather than the main deck. And then, of course, looking at the rest of this deck, we got some of the things that you would expect to see. Fracturize is in here, and then we also have some Aetherwing spells as you're wanting to get damage into your opponent, chip shot damage with Diana. It all just kind of comes together quite neatly here. This list is super sweet. I'm so impressed with this. I think this is a really cool list. It's great also to finally see Water Diana take a tournament. Diana is a champion that people have really been interested in playing, but have struggled to find a list that they think really kind of excelled. And I think we finally found a deck here that really can take advantage of Water with Diana. I think it's really cool. So impressed with this. Now, moving forward, I do suspect that this deck continues to be relevant. I think there's ways that you could certainly hate it out, but I don't think this is entirely just a flash in the pan. It was right for the meta. I do think that this deck has legs and likely will stick around for a while now, as I do think that it's really got a lot going for it here. I think it's also got really good matchups into most of the meta right now. What I am kind of interested in is what decks, if this deck does really kind of come into prominence and become a deck that is seen quite often in tournaments, what decks may start to rise up to counter this that were being pushed down previously by the Ryle decks, by the Merlin decks, by the Vanitas, Ponytoss lists as well. What could rise up? Maybe this is an opportunity for things like Arsana to make a comeback. Perhaps Rye, maybe that's a bit of a meme, but maybe Rye comes back here a little bit as well. I could also see a situation where Merlin actually pivots a little bit and perhaps continues to be relevant, but the strategy changes a bit. But this does look quite difficult for certain decks to deal with. There's just so many different avenues of attack, and the Troll Toad, assuming that they can find it early in the game, I think proves to be a problematic card for a lot of ally lists as well. So I'm really curious to see kind of where this goes from here. But again, congratulations to Destiny Clownfish for their 6-0-1 finish to this regionals. That's an incredible feat. So congratulations to you. And if you enjoyed this video today, first of all, I appreciate you getting to the end of it. And if you could hit the subscribe button, like button, and leave me a comment about what you think about this deck. This is a deck that you would see yourself playing? Does this deck kind of crush your dreams, or the deck that you're currently playing, and maybe you need to reconsider kind of how you built your deck? I know I kind of fall into that camp, as I think this is going to be a quite difficult one for me to combat, but I'd love to know your thoughts, so please put those into the comments. Please feel free to check out some of my other videos as well, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.